And it's preparing.
No laughing. LJ.
Okay, I think we are live. Let me turn this volume down a little.
If we can't hear it.
Well, we should be able to hear them. Oh, but I don't see. Okay, so Navika, LJ, can we
expand it? Just hit the down there, the arrows pointing outward. The two arrows pointing outward. The two arrows.
All right, Navika, LJ, are you guys still on?
Yes, and we are live.
Okay, perfect. So it's only showing the two videos, and then just you guys are going to be just basically audio is what it looks
It's
like.
also a delay for the Moors. There's a slight delay.
Right. I never look at the Facebook. I don't like to react off of the Facebook because yeah, the Facebook part is delayed, but just look at keep your eye on the Zoom.
Yeah.
There you go.
There we go. Okay. So welcome everybody. As you can see, we were still kind of fumbling a little bit there, but we are welcoming you to our Marriage Matters Today talk show. And my name is Angel Johnson.
My name is Richard Johnson.
And we have Navika and LJ, who are also a part of the marriage team, that are joining us tonight. I'm excited about having them on as our team, but we are also excited to welcome our guests, Sonia and Craig Moore. If you guys want to say hey.
Hey, thanks for having us.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. So tonight's topic is...
Why don't you give them a little history about your relationship with the Moors, though? You know, instead of just jumping right into the show.
Okay.
Yeah, let them
know. We didn't know about the Moors.
Right. They already know about me.
Well, I was going to let them talk about them, actually. I was going to let them talk about themselves.
I was saying your relationship.
Yeah, but we've been, Sonia and I met, and Craig was just the byproduct. So we all met kind of at the same time.
Wow. No, okay, don't introduce. Let them introduce.
Well, it was actually Craig that I saw first, actually. But of course, because he was a husband, he's like, hey, saying that the wife would be like, I think I saw somebody that you would be friends with. And he knew. So thank you, Craig, for your contribution to our friendship. And so we've been friends for about 20 years now. And
else to talk to.
Oh, whatever. Actually, though, to be real, yes, because we had just located to Columbus.
Yeah.
So my job had located us there, and at the time, Craig and I were just dating. Well, we had just got married around the time we met Angel, but when we arrived in Columbus, we were dating, and we had lived together for about a year or so. And he was like, "You need to do something other than work. You need to get out the house." Right. So he saw Angel one day, and he just said, "You know what? I think you might like her." Just out of the blue, hadn't had a conversation with her or anything. And I'm looking at him like, how are you just gonna pick my friend? Like, how do you know? I don't even know her. And then probably within a couple weeks later, I'm home by myself because he was working security, and I hear a knock at the door. And I opened the door, and it's Angel asking if I had a screwdriver. And the rest is history.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's a poignant story. That's why I wanted you guys to talk about
it was really neat.
And
so
my introduction to the Moors was when we had gone down there one time for dinner, right? I think for dinner. And and you happened to make them
You gonna talk about that?
Them glorious chitlins, boy.
What?
She made some chitlins, and I hit that chitlin. I was like, bam, you guys are my friends.
Yeah, automatic. To the belly. Right to the belly.
You guys worked out again. Another person to eat the chitlins because I wasn't eating them things. So.
Right.
My family's from the South. I grew up in the North, but my family's from down South. So I got the cooking from my mom. So that's how I kind of won his heart with cooking. They say to a man, wait through a man's heart is through his stomach.
Yeah.
So I was cooking, and Thanksgiving, it was my turn to cook and ask them to come on up because now we're back here in Cincinnati. And you know, you can't go to everybody's house to eat Thanksgiving dinner.
No.
No, not
All
everybody
right.
can cook, right?
Yeah.
But I got Richard's approval, so I was like, yay.
Yeah,
She was excited.
Man, they were great. They were great.
I remember
I
that.
can't even talk.
He ate the whole pot himself.
Yeah.
That's right.
So part of our friendship involved like me knowing when she found out when she was pregnant. I was there when she, found out she was pregnant, and then they have 2 kids. And I'll let you guys go ahead. Tell us not only how many kids, how long you guys been married, but what industry that you work in, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to say this because I always say it. It was love at first sight for her.
Okay.
All I did was walk down the hallway, and she was like, "Oh my God." And the rest goes from there. But no, but seriously, and I tell it that way because she was outward with it. It's not that I didn't notice her. It's just I was trying to be cool.
I couldn't tell.
Right. But we were working together. I was a messenger at a law firm, and she came and she was working as a secretary. And so in that hierarchy of a law firm, we all kind of hung out together and everything. So, I mean, it just went from there. And then actually the first time we tried to go out for lunch, it didn't work.
He declined me.
I had a previous already set up lunch date. Not lunch date. I was going out to lunch with her.
Yeah. I move forward, Craig.
Just move forward.
Right. So, but anyway, when we did the first lunch, we just hit it off like we had been friends for years. And so through that, years of dating, and then got married in 98, August 29th, 1998. So it'll be 23 years this year.
Nice.
First child, Craig, the second came in 99. And we had Shanoa in 02. So, and they're 21 and 19 and living on their own in their own apartment.
Wow.
So we're talking about that. We're talking about the whole empty nesters, right?
I'm currently in the banking industry at the moment, keeping down the 9 to 5 with the insurance and all that good stuff, while she has started out on her own small business venture, which is something over the years I knew she was going towards. And it's just along every little step, I'm just the person in the background, just, giving her a little push.
What's the name of that? What's the name of that company?
My job to tell her, make the leap.
What's the name of your company, Sonia?
For planning and consulting. So I worked like 25 years in corporate America in different fields: strategy, finance, executive assisting, law firm, working as a legal assistant, and had leadership skills, management skills, worked in marketing. And it just got to a point where I wanted to do more. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, strong in administrative skills. So I had an opportunity to leave corporate America. I took that opportunity in 2017 and opened up War Planning and Consulting, which is a virtual administrative and consulting firm. So I help small business owners set up their back office so that they have strategic planning, they have strong processes and automation to be efficient, and make sure they have the appropriate marketing support to stay in front of their clients.
Perfect.
Wow. Okay.
You know what? We might have to change this to visual LinkedIn. We can get you out there.
All right. So to stay with what we were talking about with the empty nester. So you guys been married 23 years. You got 2 kids out. They moved out. You guys are freshly out into, because it was just when did they move out?
April 1st.
April 1st.
Okay. And so did you guys have to quarantine with them?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We did.
Okay. What was
the
that
whole
like?
Quarantine was basically with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what are you liking about it? What's the newest excitement? Are you guys like freedom, or are you like did you experience any syndrome, like the empty nester syndrome?
No, not. I mean,
the first couple weeks when they first left, I missed them because you don't have all that activity in the house. You don't hear the music on the phone because they're watching TikTok. You don't hear the door opening and closing because Craig is in and out with his friends. You don't hear like the chatter and the movement. You know, your house is always got something going on when you have
refrigerator door opening up and closing.
Right, just the fussing sometimes back and forth.
Right.
So right when they first moved out, it was just quiet. And I hadn't experienced quietness like that in a very long time. So I missed them a little bit. But then after a while, it was like, oh, this is what it
quiet.
Right.
So that's what I was gonna ask. So LJ, now would you say you guys experienced something similar? Was it just weeks that you missed them, or was it like,
honey,
I didn't miss them at all.
Mr. Syndrome.
There was no mourning at all. I was happy.
he said no warning?
No, none.
There was, no.
Did you say that? Craig said he said agreed.
I know, but
let's talk about Naka. Naka, did you agree with Sonia?
Yeah, a female's perspective. Yeah.
No, I was ready for that. I was like, when y'all all gonna be gone? I was ready for it. I think that might contribute to the fact that I was a young mother, so I had my kids in the front end of my adulthood.
Yeah.
So having kids at the front end of your adulthood, like you're ready to live your life after that. You know, some people, they live their lives in the front of their adulthood and they can get all that stuff out and they can, enjoy not having kids around, and then they have kids. But for us, it was flip-flop. So when they were gone, we was living our best life.
Yeah, that was actually a discussion item that we had last night with the Moores about having kids early, having kids late. You know, it does have a significant impact on the way you look at your kids and the way you enjoy the empty nesting period of your life. You know, so
yeah.
So LJ, just from a male's perspective, LJ, were you feeling the same as your wife, or did you have a different experience?
No, man, I was excited when they left. I mean, there was no, I didn't miss them or anything. I knew where they were. They weren't cross country or anything like that, So for me, we were excited, be able to be free in your own home, put clothes on if you want to, don't if you don't, you know what I mean? Because they didn't really, and they had to let us know if they was coming over or whatever for the ones who had keys to the house. So, we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But
well, we'll get to that because I think I know what your but is. So Sonia, Craig, do you guys feel like you were prepared emotionally, or whatever preparation? Do you think that you felt like you were ready when they actually were out of the house?
For me, yeah. I mean, because I look forward to it. Like you said, when we had the kids early, I was already calculating, okay, 47, 48, they're going to be gone, so they turn 18 in this year. So, I have been preparing, and I wanted that for them, because it's time especially for my son. It's like, it's time for you to be an adult and, just go out and start your life. And he couldn't do that here because if he's here, you're going to give him this, so you're going to do this for him or whatever. But if he's just out on his own and I don't have to worry about it, I don't have to stay up till 2 a.m. wondering if he's going to come home. Now that he's in the apartment, even though it's across the city, he could be up till 4 a.m, but I'm going to sleep like a baby because he's not come home to my house. So I'm not as worried. I mean, I always worry,
Yeah.
That's a good point.
But when they come to your house, you always you don't sleep well until they're actually in the house.
Yeah.
That's true.
That part of it. Yeah. I like just the freedom of me being able to be, we could go somewhere, do something, and we don't have to worry about, being there for them on certain things. So for me,
Sonia, what is your perspective? I try to get the visual cues too as I'm listening to both of you talk. So I may ask a question based on what your spouse had said. So is your perspective similar to your husband's?
A little bit. Was I ready for them to go? Like right now, no. Like my son, yes, he's 21, 22. He's older. My daughter, 19. I'm like, But the fact that they're together and they moved in together, that helped me because they're together to look after each other. So it's not that I wanted them to stay here, for the next 5 or 6 years. And I definitely want them to be on their own. I thought it was a little early for her to move out, but I understand, because if I could have had that opportunity at her age, I would have done the exact
I thought about that.
Yeah.
I thought about that
I'm
because
from that perspective.
Yeah.
But it was forced upon me in a good way, meaning it's something that they wanted.
Yeah.
And I want them to live the life that I know they want to have and can have. They don't have kids. They don't have any major obligations. And, it's their life. It's not mine. All I can do is give input. Dad was all for it. And the way our relationship works, because I lived in a more of a strict household, I didn't have a lot of the joys of just coming and going as you want it, as you please. I'll be back when I get back type of thing. It was more of, what time you gonna be back, when, where you going, who you going with, until I left the house.
Yeah.
So a lot of that I default to him, which is how the dynamics of our relationship works. He was like, look, they're moving in together. They're excited about it. It's only 10 minutes away. This is going to be good for them. We raised our kids to look after each other. And I said, okay, well, hey, what do you
Good job, Craig.
Yeah, I know. That's
Good job,
that's some
Greg.
good daddying.
Yeah.
You brought up
We worked on it in the background because Shanoa had been on me. She lived on campus for a year, during the COVID. So she had a dorm, but she was going back and forth mainly here. And she wanted to move out. And being a protective dad, I was like, well, you're not moving just into a random apartment in Cincinnati, by yourself. She wanted to move by herself because she couldn't get friends to do it. And I just brought it up to Craig, and he was down with it. So then I made sure they had everything, got the apartment approval before we brought it to the boss, so that she could get the final stamp of approval.
I'm factual.
Yeah.
How you gonna do this? Can you comfortably?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're out the house, you're out the house.
Right.
There's no coming back digging in your pockets constantly.
Oh, that sounds so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get to you, Dr. LJ. Hold on.
But make sure you can comfortably, are you checking your money? Are you just ready? I know things will happen, but I just want to make sure they have as many ducks in a row as possible. So it's not like moving back in 2 months, not that quick.
Well, I think you brought up a good point, Sonia. One of the things that you said, key factor. What? Huh? Well, what did you say? Sonia. Because I say my mom's name. My mom's name is Sonia.
Yeah.
Sonia, I'm sorry. And you guys spelled the same way, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that you had said was your kids moved out. They don't have kids. So you're not grandparents yet. So you have young adults that are moving out. Okay. So now we're going to jump to LJ and Navica. Y'all's kids moved out, but I know that you guys are also grandparents too, correct?
Yes.
How does that change that dynamic with your child leaving and you also being grandma and grandpa?
Because you want to care for the
Yeah.
grandbaby.
Or is it like when they come back to visit y'all, it's like too much? It's like, no, I don't know. So how do you deal with that?
Or maybe just share what has happened.
Yeah, your experience
with them coming back.
Well, being an empty nester, I'll tell you, when we were younger, we used to always fantasize about what we were going to do once the kids got older and they moved out, right? And then life happened, and then next thing you know, we have kids that have kids. But it was like we wanted them to move. We wanted them to move out when wanted them to be independent and everything. So we taught them when they were younger. We tried to get them, make sure that they're saving. Some rebelled and some took hold too. We have three adult daughters, and some of them rebelled against our teachings, and then we had one that listened to everything that we had to say, and she's doing very well. But when the kids move out, you then have adult problems. So all of those problems that you had when your kids were small and little, and you was like, oh, I can't wait till y'all. Those are like the best times, because those are times and those are issues that you can control.
Yep.
But once they become adults, then they begin to have, like Sonia said, make sure that rent's paid. What happens when the rent's not paid? Who they go to? What happens when, you know, they need gas money or somehow they mismanage their money and they who do they go to? So they usually always come back to the parents. So now you have a whole nother set of issues that you have to deal with as adults. So that's a bit harder.
So
yeah,
how do
because like you said, that whole control thing.
Yeah.
Because with us, we're not empty nesters at all. We learn it from y'all.
Yeah.
But we can kind of problem solve for our own kids and have that control. But your kids have free will when they're out of the house.
So how do you compartmentalize, the adult issues that your kids are experiencing that may impact your joy of being an empty nester? Because if that stuff starts creeping into your joy, it's just like, whoa, wait a minute, me and your mama, we got our thing going on right now. You coming up in the crib, son. I'm just saying, using the son as example, but so Morris, how do you deal with that?
We're kind of dealing with a little situation like that now, is where our son was transitioning between jobs and he had an issue with his car that he couldn't necessarily pay for to get fixed all at one time. So to make things easier, because I didn't want him borrowing his sister's car, because that's always the thing. She's got a nicer car than he has. So he'll say, well, let me just use your car for a minute. And then that gets her down because she doesn't want to tell him no. So to fix it, will you just take my car? You just take my car and then we'll get your car fixed. And then she's like, well, no, because then that means you're going to have to drive my car.
Right. Everybody's tax.
Right. Yeah.
It's a cycle.
It's a big
cycle. But my thing is, if I don't let him drive my car, he can't get to work, so he'll never get his car fixed. So he needs to drive something. So, but then Uber's money.
Right.
Uber's more money. Then he's spending $40 a day. Yeah, but then he's spending $60 a day.
So then how is that? Do you feel like that's creeping? Like Bridget's saying, is it creeping into that joy?
It goes back in your pocket.
Yeah.
So now you have more bills than you had before they left.
Right.
But it's about the setting boundaries. How long are you going to let that go?
Right.
Like, we'll help you, but don't take advantage of our help. Like, you can tell I'm the disciplinarian in this relationship. So I'm always a little harder, like consequences. A plus B equals C. And if we get to C, then those are the consequences because you didn't do A and B, period.
Yeah.
Like, that's that, especially when you've been taught, we reminded you. Now, granted, you need some grace, but when it's habitual, such as maintenance of a vehicle that you know you need to get the oil change and things like that, that's when my tolerance gets really low. And I'm like, okay, now you inconvenience everybody because you didn't take care of your main responsibility.
It's funny that I asked that question because, of course, I know the Moores, not as well as I know, LJ and Navika, but I know you as people, and just knowing about how you would have raised your kids to be prepared for the next level. It's like, it's without a shadow of a doubt that I know that the Moore's kids and LJ and Navika's kids knew they were prepared for the next phase, but yet they still coming back. That's what's crazy to me. I don't
But at this point, we're just counselors. We're not, like in your situation, you can tell your kids, this is what you're going to do.
Yeah.
There's not an argument. With adult kids, you can only say, hey, you really should do A, B, and C. But then they're going to go off and they're going to do B, C, X. You know what I mean? They're making their own decisions. So that's what's
but also too, it's a difference between helping and enabling, because there is a difference. There's a difference. Helping and enabling.
Yeah.
So, I think there's a lesson learned for people who are about to experience empty nesters. No matter what work you may have done prior to your kids leaving. So hear me out. No matter what work you may have done, they may still come back.
There's still going to be grace there.
They still can be that loop. And you're right. You have to provide grace to your kids when they come back, but you can't let them come into your joy. I think Sonia, I think that you said it eloquently, that you got to create boundaries for your kids.
Yeah.
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 The
That's
boundaries.
good.
And do
Joy in
you
a
think
heartbeat.
that
'Cause
do
they're
those
neat.
boundaries then help your relationship, you know, with your marriage? Like, would you say that you are, let's ask Navika and LJ first. You know, when you guys set up those boundaries, did that feel like that was allowing you to feel, you know, like this is better for our marriage that we set these boundaries up? And so that's why you would suggest and recommend it for couples that will be experiencing that in the future?
Yeah, definitely. I think setting those boundaries, that because I know in the beginning we had boundaries set, but one of them would call and say, "Can I borrow some money?" I give him money. You know what I mean? Not discussing it with my wife. Then they might ask her. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa.
The double play.
So until we could get on the same page and be
Yeah.
that united front in which we're supposed to be, it was causing issues between us. And they knew how to play it. You know what I mean? And then one thing you also have to realize, I forget who said it, but talking about the kids coming back to the house or watching the children and seeing some of the things that they do. And you're just like, man, I didn't raise them that way. I didn't teach them this.
Yeah.
Right.
But you got to realize that you done all that you could as an adult, although we make mistakes. We made mistakes for sure. I can admit that 100%. But still, we did our best as we knew how to raise our children. So it's not our fault. I mean, we have 3 daughters. All of them are doing decent, but one of them is doing very well. And she's one that listens to us and everything, but we taught them all exactly the same way.
Right.
They all have their own choice. They make their own choices and they all have their own personality. So you have to have boundaries because they'll keep coming back.
Yeah.
And then you'll keep getting upset because you're like, geez, what's
Losing that
going on?
joy.
They in my pocket all the time. I can't do what I want to do.
Yeah.
So it's like for empty nesters, you're obviously still parenting.
Yeah.
You know what I
Oh,
mean?
definitely.
Parenting doesn't go away just because
No.
you're empty nester. But what about now, you know, let's talk more of the direction of the kid, like yourselves.
Yeah, the
now,
relationship.
the relationship
Yeah.
now.
Right.
So, you know, they're out the house. Yeah, we already talked. Yeah, we know there's going to be some conversations that you're going to have to make decisions because you're still parenting. But did either of you, let's go to the Moores now. Did either of you wake up and be like, who is you?
Who is you? Who is you?
You.
Because I had kids for 20 years of my marriage, and now I turn around and look at you, and I don't know who you is.
Nah, I mean, I think we're lucky in a way that, at least I am, is that Sonia is who Sonia is, no matter whether the kids are around or not. So, I mean, we still did a lot of things together. You know, we had our hills, we had our valleys, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, like I said, when we first met, we've always been friends. So, you know, we kept that as the base. I mean, you know, like it may be cliche to say, but you know, this is my best friend ever. So I didn't really feel that way. It was just, to me, it was like, now I get you to myself. I don't have to share you with Craig or, you know, or let you have that time with your son, let you have that time with your daughter. Like, no, my turn. Watch out. So
My turn.
Right. So far, I can say we're only 2 months in, like you said, but you know, I'm not complaining.
Sonia?
No, I'm not complaining either. You know, you're battling your time with your kids and you can get lost because the conversation ends up being about the kids most of the time, especially if your lives are wrapped in around sports, because we have very active kids. So our weekends, our vacations, we didn't really have vacations. Our vacations were the basketball tournaments that we had to go to for Craig. So everything we did was wrapped around. But to his point, the basis that we started off as friends, we knew who we were before we grew into this. So we were individual. We had friends before, we had friends together. And
like us,
you know, as we kind of grew apart with the kids at first, because it's like, oh my gosh, like they're 2.5 years apart. So what do we do? You know, and just marriage in itself. But because we went through all of that, now it's like, it's almost like a rebirth.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Being more mature We're
Yeah.
picking up where we left off. So if you take like that 20 years of child wearing out,
Right.
you know, we're still the same people. We're just matured. So it's like, oh, we could pick up where we left off, like that long distance relationship, right? You get back together. So now it's like, oh, we can do more things because we didn't have that luxury. We got married and then we had Craig
Right away.
half later.
Right.
So
Yeah.
later I was pregnant. So it was like, wow. So we didn't even get that early marriage. Oh, let's just kind of, you know, just enjoy being married and vacation and do this and that. It was, oh, we're about to be parents. Like,
Yeah.
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 wow, okay. This is how we
Yeah.
have to do this. So we had to figure it out. So now, you know, with us just having turned 48, we're like, wow, we still have a whole lot of time left, God
A whole
willing.
lot of time. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, what about Navika? LJ, what do you guys? You guys didn't wake up looking like, dang, who is you?
No, you know, we really pride, I think we pride ourselves in the fact that that was one of the things that we decided early on in our relationship, is that we were going to work on our marriage, especially after we went through the testimony that we went through. We made it a point to make sure that we spent time together. So we were, you know, we vacationed with the kids, but we also took our own vacations. We took many cruises together. We go out on date nights and you know, just different things just to keep the spark going and to keep the pulse on our relationship. You know, we're changing, you know, there's seasons and we change, and we want to make sure that we are aware of each other as we're changing. So that was one of the things that we, you know, we definitely made sure that we stay close throughout our relationship, even with the girls and all the things that was going on with them when they were kids and things like that.
So
But we
that
always
seems
knew
like,
it wasn't.
I was going to
No, I
say
was
that
just saying.
seems like a, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, LJ.
No, I was just saying, but we already knew in the beginning, like she said, we made sure that we did things together. We knew, like a lot of people, they don't look at it as their kids are, they look at it, it seems like as if their kids are never going to leave, that their kids are never going to have relationships with
very
somebody
true.
else, that their life has just got to be wrapped around them and then them alone. And that's when you see people in those kind of relationships, that's when they wake up and they be like, I don't even know my spouse, because
Yeah.
it was just about running the kids to soccer, taking them to the dentist, doing whatever. It was all wrapped around the kids and not me and you, nothing about me and you. And when you were working all that through, you were like, man, we work together well as a team. But when the kids and that team is gone and it's just you two on the team, then you're like, wow, I don't know what to do here. And you find a lot of couples get divorced after that.
Yeah, it's creating your, I think one of the key points that we always talk about is having your own identity. So as married couples, we have our individual identity. And sometimes one of us will kind of latch onto the kids and make the kids a part of our identity. Sometimes it's moms, sometimes it's dads. I think we typically see moms do that. And then the kids grow away from mom, and then mom's looking at this man and like, who is this?
Right.
So having your own identity is important for you, but then having that identity in the relationship is vitally important, because you don't want to get to the other end of that relationship, not have anything to distract you. And then, you know, is fussing today as an empty nester, is it the same as fussing when you had kids? If the answer is yes, y'all got problems. Y'all got problems, because it shouldn't be.
Right.
Y'all ain't got no kids in the house. Making up is like right there. The fussing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, let's get done with this fussing because the kids ain't here. We
Right.
Right.
Hey, Angel, you was talking about take A and B. Oh no, maybe the more said that. A to B, and then you get to C. Richard trying to skip right to C.
Yeah. Bam. But I didn't say it. I said I wasn't going to say it. I wasn't going to say it. But I'm just saying, you guys are in an environment where you can now have that intimate relationship nurtured. You know, that is
without a distraction.
Without a distraction, man. That's so cool to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, okay, in a sense, because the distraction may not be the little kids running around with their problems. The distraction now becomes the adult kids running around with their problems. And You know, so we were talking earlier about how do you compartmentalize those types of, you know, those situations. And it's, you know, for me, I really pray a lot. You know, I pray a lot for my girls. I pray for God to just bless them, and He has really blessed them, even when they make really terrible choices. And you know, I just ask Him to help me to navigate. I think I was talking to my grandmother the other day, and I was just like, you know what, I'm done with this cycle. She's going to have to get it together, and you know, it's just is what it is, and I'm done. And I said, and Lord, and I just have to ask the Lord to forgive me if I'm not having enough patience, or if I'm not giving enough grace, if I'm not being compassionate enough, or whatever the case may be. He's gonna have to forgive me, or he's gonna have to show me something, because I'm done. And sometimes you get to that stage, you know, with your kids, and so you have to have, I believe, a really strong prayer life, and have really strong people around you that can give you godly advice on, you know, how to handle things, or affirm some of the decisions that you have to make as parents. So
one of the things that we were talking about earlier today, which is kind of down the same line, was, you know, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
We don't have villages anymore raising our kids.
Right.
You know, our kids may be better prepared if the village is helping prepare them for the next phase of their life.
And not only just that it helps with them being prepared, but it also lifts the burden off of the parent during the child rearing stages. You know what I mean? Like, you're not constantly burdened, because you have that village, and it allows you to have that time to say, you know what, we're going to go and take a vacation, or we're going to go and have date night. But when you don't have that, then when you get to that empty nester stage, you might feel a little different.
Yeah, because you would still be supporting, you know, other friends and their kids growing up, and so on and so forth. If we all did that, you know, there's various reasons why we don't go down that road, especially, you know, in African American community, we have a tendency to want to separate away from, you know, because we're moving away, we're making it
from
from where we may have been.
Or whatever.
And unfortunately, that support group really helps us raise our kids up, you know, to go to that next level in their lives. So it's a lot of fun.
We were lucky because, you know, like Sonia, we're in Cincinnati. Sonia was born and raised here, and she has a lot of family. So we had a little mini village as far as her dad. She has aunts, uncles, and then my parents were in Columbus, and you know, so even her sister. So there would be times like when Craig was young, when her sister would come get Craig, and then you know, just give us time to do things. But I want to get back to I think it was LJ's point about getting the kids out. It's like, I think at this point for us, it's like levels. We have them out, but now I want to get them established to the point where you're really out. You know, so you don't have that burden of worrying about helping them out with if something comes up. You know, I want you to get to the point where you're really financially, socially just stable, so that when you come to me, you can come to me and just talk. It's not necessarily, we don't have to get into, well, I need some help with this, or I need some help with that. I'm always going to help you, but I just want them to get established to where they're just adults, to the point where, you know.
And see, we got one like that. We have one that is, and we tried our best to help the others, even with bank accounts, setting up how to budget and everything, and just showing it to them and how it can work for them. No. They don't pay any attention to it. Not at all.
It's amazing how you can birth 3 kids, 4 kids, and they all are different. You're like, well, why aren't you all the same? Like, what is, like, they just have their own personality. And I think for me, that is why the 18, 19, or the 21 and the 19, it was like, are you really ready? Because when I moved out, I was out.
So were we. Us too.
But I was always been very mature in how I manage my time, my money, all of that. I listened. So when I left, I was determined, I'm not coming back. I want to be all the way out, independent, make my own decisions, all of that. So
but generationally, you know that's different.
Different generation now.
Different generation. Like,
we have one that, you know, we have one that's on it, and she's not, you know, She's not coming back. She,
Oh,
you know,
that's
she made it known. I'm gone. I'm gone. And she's all about her business, and she's, you know, and you know, Craig's just got his own. He's his own character. He's his own guy. So he, you know,
he just is
he wants
different.
to. And I'm not gonna lie. I was the same as a young adult. I had to. People tell me how it's gonna be, but I had to experience it myself.
A reflection of self.
Yeah, and he's kind of the same way.
So
See yourself in your kids.
Mhm.
Yeah, you do, because that's what you should know is a little you.
Like
Yeah,
all the stuff you see your kids struggling with as they get older or as they're growing up, you see yourself in them.
Mm-hmm.
So the ones that are doing great or struggling, all those little struggle points here and there, it's like, oh, did they get that from you or they get that from me? Like, you know, kind of comes from. It's like, oh gosh, it's like this has happened again. How do we prevent this, or what do we need to do differently? You know, how can do we need to discipline different? You know, it's just who they
it's
are.
just a
but
different
as a
season.
parent, is letting them be too, because some of it's self-inflicted.
Right.
Yeah.
And when it's self-inflicted, it's like, okay, you knew not to do this, this, and this, and you still did. So how are you gonna get yourself out of it?
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Mhm.
You know, but coming to the rescue, I can't do that all the time. So that's why
Right.
I'm helping and enabling. There's a
Yeah, every
Yes.
issue that your kid goes through is not an intervention.
right.
That's the point. When there's an intervention necessary, there's no hesitation for a parent. You have to go take care of them. But not everything, because again, we're talking about empty nesting. We're talking about y'all. You know, we're not talking about them kids no more. We're talking about y'all.
We're not talking about the kids. Okay.
We're trying to go. No, I'm saying in a general
Yeah.
sense that you're always going to talk about the kids. But I think some of the key points that you guys have all brought up was, you know, boundaries. That seems to be significant. Know who your partner is before you get to that threshold of being an empty nester. That seems to be really important too. So those are two real
Those are
key
two
points.
things. Yeah, because I was going to say, I mean, you know, we're
Don't forget
almost
the
at the point
prayer.
where we're supposed to wrap up. Yeah, praying for your kids as
Praying
well.
for your
Absolutely.
kids, right?
But I was going to ask, I mean, for, you know, before we wrap up, is there something that we didn't already discuss that you think might be advantageous for couples who are maybe on the brinks of, you know, they got a senior in high school, they got a junior in high school, sophomore,
I mean,
on their way, about to be on their way out? What would you, maybe, is there a takeaway from something that you've learned that we haven't discussed?
I would just say, because I've had this discussion with my brother, because he's got kids that are younger. He actually asked me, you know, does it get better, you know, when they leave or whatever? And I told him, I was like, whatever issues you have, you should work through them before the children are gone.
Amen.
Because it's kind of like a person who poor and all of a sudden gets a lot of money. If you knew how to manage your money when you was poor, you're going to know how to manage it when you're rich, and vice versa. If you weren't getting along before the kids left, that's not a magic solve that's just going to say, oh, well, now, you know, now we get along, we're great. No, it's going to be magnified because you're looking at that person all the time like, this is the source of my problems. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
but
I like
if
that.
but if you've come together and you're friends and you join each other's company, when they leave, it multiplies just like it will multiply the other way. It's like, okay, now I get to spend some time with this person. Now she's mine. I get, you know, we get to do things. So whatever the issue is, I would just say work through that before they're gone, because I see that's probably why a lot of couples get divorced when the kids leave, because they didn't work through whatever issues they had at the time. And so it's easy. Once the kids are gone, well, I can just leave you. It doesn't matter. We don't have to worry about where the kid's gonna go, you know, that type of thing.
So I was gonna ask the LJ and Afghan, how important is your Christian faith in your marriage as it relates to how you deal with each other on this tail end? How important has that been in your walk to this season of your life?
Well, I can say for us, I don't think we would even be where we are if it's 100% important for us. You know what I mean? I don't think we could have navigated all the things that we've been through with our children and just within our marriage period without the help of God. I mean, the things that have came up, and even with the kids and being able to just help them, you know what I mean? They could ask for help 1 minute and then we could be like, well, we really don't have it. And the next thing you know, we're blessed here to be able to provide there for them, you know what I mean, to help them out. So God he's walked with us through it all, because I think there was a lot of times that we would have just given up You know what I mean? Because it was just that hard.
Yeah, I think I would say it's played an important part because guilt can consume you if you know, as a parent, when you see your child making mistakes, sometimes you kind of reflect that onto you, or you know, try to say it's something you think it's something that you did or didn't do. So you're always thinking like, okay, did I not teach him this? Did I not? And you're going back and you're trying to figure out where you messed up. And then but then, you know, as a Christian, I mean, I remember, you know, our kids would be the first kids at church and the last kids to leave. You know, we did Bible studies together. You know, we spent time together and we taught them about the Lord and all of those things, and we trained them up the way the Bible has instructed us to. So I think at times when we feel a little, for me, when I feel a little down or just discouraged in certain areas, the Lord just reminds me that He's in control, and that they too have a testimony that they have to live out in their lives.
Yeah.
So when the Lord brings that back to my remembrance, that they have a testimony too, and that I can't hinder that. I can't always be in the mix, or I can't be worried about this or worried about that, because He's in control.
Yeah.
So I think that is a big thing to take away from, you know, being an empty nester when it comes to your kids, and you know, in that Christian perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome discussion. So I don't have anything more for you guys. I think you guys have given so much information. I think it's a wealth of knowledge for just people that are in the season that you guys are in. I'm sure that they're going to be able to relate to, you know, some of the things that you guys have experienced, and then, you know, basically preparing themselves. I think like Craig had said, you know, making sure that you are having the conversations that needs to work through what you need to work through. If you have issues, don't be like, okay, let's wait till the kids are gone. Let's deal with it now. And then, you know, Navika, LJ, you guys, you know, with your prayer life. And I think that's awesome, Navika, where you shared that guilt. Because I know that, you know, like you said, moms will carry things like and dads, you know, you're like, what could I have done different? And, you know, making sure that you're saying to yourself, I don't want to be in the Lord's way. If this is the direction that they're going to, and He has a way that He's going to resolve it, I don't want to be, you know, trying, you know, to basically intercede and allowing the Lord to have His way in their lives. So I think that's awesome. We appreciate you guys' input. I think it's very timely, just the conversation, because you know, we do have a lot of families that are empty nesters. I think I saw like, you know, a couple, you know, like 22 million families in the US, and, you know, just talking about that loneliness and how you can actually bring the joy into your marriage, instead of it being as if you're like, oh, I feel alone. Like your spouse is there. I mean, he's there for you, she's there for you. This is a time for you to be able to cultivate your relationship even more so. So if you guys don't have any final comments, I think that should conclude our show for tonight. I do think that we have a live coming up here in a couple of weeks. And then we'll also have a talk show at the end of July as well. And I think that Navika and LJ, you guys are going to be hosting that one, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so just shout out really quick to...
I have one question.
Oh, go ahead.
Just the question that I didn't cover was the question of intimacy, because I always go down this road. I'm going to close. I'm just saying that I think we need to have that discussion, maybe not during this one. We need to talk about, you know, how to keep that relationship fire going after those kids leave, because I think people need help in that area in their relationship. How do I rekindle the fire? How do I make that flame explosive?
Now that I don't have
no kids.
Okay, yeah, that might be a different.
Yeah, that
time.
might be a
He
late
always-
night. It's gonna be a late
Y'all
night
know
talk
he's gonna
show.
bring that in.
We're gonna have to,
Yeah.
we have to invite some OGs on here for that
Yeah,
one.
that's a late night talk show.
Anyway, so Dominic and OJ are going to be hosting. I wanted to give a shout out to Derek and Susan, even though they couldn't be a part of the tonight's show. We miss you guys. We hope all is well.
Yes.
And we will see you guys at our next event. So without
Yeah.
further ado, I think that we just like to say thank you guys for joining us tonight. Like us on Facebook, share this event with some family members that you might, family friends that you might think could utilize this information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is it
That's-
that we say?
Nothing.
No, we say be the one that loves the
Be-
most in your marriage or something
Yeah,
like that.
be the one who loves the most
In your marriage.
in your marriage.
Amen.
We
Amen.
do.
That's right. Don't,
On our
don't
lives.
correct it. Just say amen. See you later.
Uh-huh. Amen. See you later. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
All right,
All right.
stay-
Thanks,
Hey, you
more.
guys
Nice
can
meeting you
stay.
guys.
Hold on,
More
hold on,
stay.
stay.
Oh.
Hold on.